Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next Foreman community demo. 30th of March, time's rolling on. Spring is here. It's lovely and warm here in Scotland. I am indeed Gilvin, and I will be looking after you again today. We've got a fairly small demo, less presenters than usual today, but that's life. You know, you can't win them all. And there's reasons for that. We'll go over that as we go forward. And there's a few other things to talk about as well. So what's the news? What's on the grapevine? So first of all, 1.15 was branched yesterday, I think. So you will be seeing release candidates very, very soon for that. And there's lots of new things to test in this. There's a whole new notifications UI, as you'll have seen in previous demos, and much, much more as we've been going over in the previous videos and more today. So as always, if you do want to help out with those release candidates, and many of you do, that is very welcome. We rely on it and we're very thankful for it. So thank you all for your help with that in advance. Do please get your bugs in, and we'll make this a solid release with a bit of luck. In the rest of today's demo, we'll be looking at some templates and roles changes. We'll be looking at new export features. We'll be looking at new ways to manage users, specifically SSH keys, and some updates for SCAP as well. And there'll also be some community survey updates as well. So as many of you will be aware, we did the community survey about a month ago. I have been writing up a very, very long blog post on that, which is currently being reviewed at the moment. So the PR is open on GitHub if you want to go and have a sneak preview. Otherwise, it will hit the blog in a couple of days. There's lots to see and lots to read. But also in that survey, I promised that there was a chance of prizes, and I will be doing the prize draw for that a little bit later in the show, so stick around and see who wins. First though, we're going to get our first feature up, and I'm actually going to present this one today. So this was a piece of code written by Timo and Ewout, and they've asked me to present it because they can't be here today, which is unfortunate, of course, but that's life. You know, you can't always manage that. And I'll say this for everyone else out there: if you do have work that you'd like to show to the Foreman community and you can't come onto a demo, please do let me know. I'll be happy to play a video or to present it for you if you give me a little bit of warning to get familiar with the feature. So today what we're going to talk about is SSH keys for users. And to do this, unfortunately, we've had some changes to how Hangouts run, and I'm just going to have to disconnect my screen sharing from it because I can't sadly do a full desktop screen share anymore. It no longer works. So let me just quickly switch to my browser and zoom in a little bit. So what Timo has added is really, really nice, actually. He's added the ability to manage SSH keys for users, and Ewout's taken that a little bit further with a Puppet module as well. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to show you, I've got a perfectly ordinary host here, and I'm just going to show you the YAML. This is completely empty. So you can see we've got this new entry, authorized keys, which is an array, and also under Foreman users, we get authorized keys here as well. If I now go and add an SSH key to my host, you can see we've got this new tab, SSH keys. I can create an SSH key. I'm just going to get my SSH key from a file. There we go. So I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to give it a name and submit that. So this is just a standard pub key that you would find in your SSH directory. And if we go back here, you can see it's calculated fingerprint, length, when I created it, and so on. So this is now an SSH key attached to my user. If I go back and look at my hosts, we should see that that's been added to the YAML. So now we've got an SSH key here and an SSH key here. Now, obviously, this is an array, so it's related to however many keys you've got on your users, and it also works for multiple users as well, but it's related to the owner of the host. So if we go back again and we create, let's do a little bit of management here. So let's create a new user. I mean, you can probably see where this is going, but I'm going to do it anyway. So we've got the admin user here as well. So we're going to edit that. I'm going to put the key here as well. Get rid of that. So paste that in again. We'll call it admin. Okay, I'll change a letter just for the sake of it. Keys have to be unique, it would seem. I did not know that. No, it's an invalid key. All right, I give up. But the idea is that obviously if you set a user group, well, I can do that at least. So let's do a user group. And we'll get that in there. While I'm just doing this, one of the guys in IRC has just reminded me to tell you that if you're watching this on the YouTube stream, do set the quality to 720p. It makes such a difference. I don't know why it doesn't do this automatically. There's no options to control this when you're setting up a stream. So about it, but do set it to a high quality. It makes a lot of difference when looking at this sort of thing. So I'm going to put both users in here. And then I'm going to go back to my hosts. I'm going to set the owner. Oops. Here we are. Change owner to admin. And now if we go and have a look, we should, I think, I think, which allows you to use the snippet, and it will just simply iterate over all of the users assigned to the host and create their SSH keys. So you can do this in your provisioning. Avad has created a Puppet module, Puppet Foreman Simple User, and you literally just include it. It's simply, there's the init.pp. It's just simply an iterator over what's in the ENC. So you simply do include Foreman Simple User, and again, it goes over all of the keys in that ENC hash and adds them to your user. So that's about it. It's a really nice feature. Nice, you know, if you're not big enough to be using something like IPA or Active Directory or whatever to manage your users, if you've just got a local shop, this is a really nice way of handling a small number of users for initial bootstrapping and so on. So give it a try. Tell us what you think. And that's it for me. I'll just check for questions. Okay, apparently the stream broke for a bit. I hope it's all okay. I hope you didn't miss too much of that. If we did, I can always go over it again later. But let's, we just had a question about whether this is from remote execution. This is separate to remote execution, I believe. Maybe one of the other guys on the Hangout can correct me on that one. I don't see any reason why you couldn't use it for that, but I think they're separate for now. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's not being used in remote execution right now. The reason is that for doing the connection, we need the private key, but here we upload public keys. If you use, you can use it for using the same key that you install on your smart proxy when you're doing the remote execution connection from there.
Right. So yeah, if you handle the private keys, then you could use it for both. But obviously, we need to handle that at some level to make sure it works. So yeah. Okay. I don't see any other questions just now. So let me switch back to the PDF of the show notes. This is sadly due to the fact that Google Hangouts and Firefox no longer work nicely together, so I can't screen share the way I used to, because I usually use Firefox. All right, so that was SSH keys. We're going to move on, and we're going to now talk about CSV exports. So, Toma, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, so the CSV export is a nice little feature that has been added to several pages due to repeated requests of people saying, oh, I just have to export this table and I'm tired of doing copy-paste into a spreadsheet or whatever, and I need it for reporting to management, or I need to do this or that on it. So it's this little export button that's been added to a few of the pages. Right now it's added on hosts, reports, and facts. And basically you just click it, it asks you where to save your report, just so you can see I'm not bluffing. I'll show you. It's exporting just the same table, so you can do whatever you want with it. it also respects your filters. So, for example, if you want a list of all your hypervisors, well, yeah. Is it fact? Is virtual? Maybe I don't have any, but you can filter, for example, just OS equals CentOS. You want just your CentOS hosts. Search, and you export. You get just those hosts. Again, no bluffing here. Just got these 10 hosts. It's also available, as I mentioned, on the facts page. Oops. Okay. It works when you don't install and uninstall plugins, obviously. And also on the reports page. Again, you can just export all the reports, get your nice CSV, so you can report whatever you need, do some statistics on them, whatever. So that's how it looks in the UI. We've got a minute to show maybe a bit of the backend.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. We've got plenty of time today.
Okay, so is this big enough?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, so it's basically a very simple controller concern that you need to add to whatever controller you use. It's called CSV Responder, and all you have to do is add a responder that responds with the CSV response method. It takes 2 parameters, first of which is resources, whatever the table is that you want to export, and the second is columns. It defaults to the column names on the table in the database, but you can overwrite it if you want, define whatever columns you want, or just pass it as a parameter. And that's all there is to it. The way it works behind the scene is it actually creates an enumerator that goes over all those resources and just generates them one line at a time, sending whatever columns you asked for. So it doesn't have to be actual database columns. It could be relations. For example, if a port has a host relation, you can just send host and get a host name. If it's methods, for example, status for host, it's actually a method, the global status, or basically anything you can send to the object, and it's sent as a HTML stream, so HTTP stream. So it's not, it doesn't have to build everything and then you wait for an hour before the download starts. It starts immediately. I've exported 13 million facts using it. It takes a while because that's quite a lot of data, but it just starts immediately and starts streaming the data. I guess that's it for show and tell. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I don't see any questions just now. It's a pretty cool feature. It strikes me as one of those things that's like it's a lowest common denominator, right? In a lot of cases, we have reporting built into things like Hammer, but when you can't get it that way, having something like this, where you can just hit it and go, just give me that right now, I'll work with it from there. It's a really useful tool to have. So yeah, really awesome stuff. Good to see. It's a feature that's been asked for a long time. So
yeah, so the idea right now with buttons is to have just the table as you see it in the UI, just export it as is. Mm-hmm. It's already, I'm planning to add it to several more tables in the future. And there's also further planning to allow you to select whatever columns you want, but that's a bit more complex to implement, obviously.
Of course.
For those use cases, you can still use Hammer CSV or export from the API or whatever.
Hammer CSV is a separate plugin, isn't it, for Hammer
Yeah.
itself? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Because someone just literally asked that on IRC about whether this will be integrated with Hammer. So for those of you who don't know, there has been a module for Hammer for quite a long time called Hammer CSV, which allows you to do this kind of thing through Hammer. But we've now got it in the UI, and presumably, is there API as well?
It can be added to the API as well. Right now, we didn't add any endpoints in the API, but like you saw, the code is literally just adding
Pretty
2
simple.
lines, and you can edit wherever you want to. So all the developers listening right now, if you feel that there's somewhere you want to export CSV, go for it.
Easy to add to plugins as well?
Yeah, very easy. Just
Good.
add the concern.
I can see Discovery wanting this.
Yeah, very, very, very simple to add. If you need any help, reach out to me.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions just now, so we're going to move on. So next up, we have Andhra, who is about 60% of today's demo. I think you've got like 3 segments back to back. So you can do these in any order, but I've got you down as SCAP first because that's what you put in the agenda. So if you're there, go for it.
Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now.
We can, yes.
And right, the first thing that I'd like to show you today is running OpenSCAP scans comfortably from your UI. Basically, what we have here is this new button, and you just choose Run OpenSCAP Scan, and it basically redirects you to the jobs invocation page, and the job will start immediately. And what it does is it runs all the scans for all the policies that this particular host has configured. As you can see, the job is pending right now, and these are the commands that get executed. As you can see, I have 2 policies configured for this host, so 2 commands. And that's basically it. Now you can just wait until the commands finish, and you will get your reports. It can take a while, so I'll move on to the next OpenSCAP feature that we have, and it's downloading the reports in HTML. Previously, we had only the XML in bzip, but now we added the HTML as well, so you can just download the report and view it immediately, which is kind of handy, I think. Users were asking for the reports that were readable, and so they could just download them, and that's basically it. Meanwhile, our job is still running, so it will finish in time. But for this feature that I've shown, you need remote execution version 1.2.3 and higher. You need it for the button to show up. You don't really need this specific version to run the commands or run the scan. You can do that with the lower versions of remote execution as well, but you won't see the button in the UI. So that's basically it for the OpenSCAP improvements.
Sweet. Glad to see that finally arriving through remote execution, because we talked about this in Config Management Camp, right? So, so that's pretty cool. Good progress there. I don't see any questions on that one. So let me see what's next on the slides. So next we have template defaults. Yes, locked. Well, changes to the defaults.
Basically, in the UI we have this built Pixie default button, and it deploys the Pixie Linux templates to your proxies. And in the past, users really didn't have a choice in what templates get deployed. It was always the Pixie Linux global default, I think it's named. But that has changed now, and we have these new settings. Under the provisioning tab, we have global default Pixie Grub, Pixie Grub 2, and global default Pixie Linux. And here you can choose what templates get deployed. Basically, if the setting is empty, it falls back onto the default. but if you choose a template, then these templates get deployed to the proxy when you build the Pixie default. And we added this because again the default templates get updated during the upgrades, and they can override any changes that users made to that template. So now the recommended approach is to clone the template that you like, make your modifications, and if you want to deploy that to the proxy, just set the settings and it will get deployed. And that's it.
That is so cool. That has been one of those annoying little paper cuts for like 6 years, right? It's been hard coded since I joined the project 6 years ago, right? It's always been hard coded. So it's very nice to see that finally getting fixed and made configurable. So that's awesome. Just a quick check. I don't see any questions on that one. It's pretty straightforward. And then finally for you, I think we have the default roles being locked as well, right?
Yeah, now we decided to lock the roles that are actually seeded by Foreman. And again, this is because multiple people were touching it. We were touching it during the seeds, possibly during the upgrades. And users could modify it as well. And if they then run the upgrade, it would override the changes that they have made, and that's just unacceptable. So we decided to lock the roles that we actually seed. And again, the recommended workflow is that you can clone them and modify them. And one of other reasons why we did this is because we now add the permissions from the plugins to the manager and viewer roles. So now if you assign a manager and install a new plugin, that manager has automatically the permissions from your plugin. So no changes to your roles are necessary, and you can just access the features from the plugin right off the bat. So
Cool.
that's it.
So the aim there is around, well, apart from obviously things getting changed and overwritten, which is always bad. The aim here regarding to plugins then presumably is that unless you have specific RBAC requirements for types of users, but sorry, let me start that line again. We know of certain types of users, right? Managers, viewers, anonymous roles. We have different sort of profiles of people who would use Foreman, right? And so we can presumably lock those and know that they're always going to be consistent and how to update them and include things within them. And then if that's all you're using, it's dead easy, right?
Yeah, exactly. We know what permissions the role is supposed to contain, and when we upgrade, then we don't override anything that users added.
Sure. I see Marek has a couple of questions. Do you want to jump in?
Oh, okay. So one thing I see on the screen is basically that we have some of the roles locked, which are those that we ship from Foreman, but I also see Discovery Manager, Discovery Reader. So I was wondering if there's a plan how to also log the plugin roles, or should plugin developers take care of that?
No, there are plans to log the plugin roles as well, because they face the same problems as the roles that we see, maybe even more because of the way we do it. There is a pending pull request that should log the plugin roles as well, and plugin developers don't need to do anything really. It gets done for them when they register their plugins, and when they register their roles the way they do it now.
Okay, awesome. One more question. Basically, I wonder what happens when I have a role which I modified in my 1.14, and then I upgrade to 1.15. Is it role locked forever, or what happens?
now your role gets renamed with a new name. It will be, if you modify manager, it will be customized manager. If you modify viewer, it will be customized viewer. So your roles will be just renamed. The permissions are the same, and Foreman creates a new role with the name manager that has the permissions that the manager is supposed to have, and locks that role. So your role that you have customized will be unlocked and just the same as it was before, only renamed.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, good stuff. Interesting. This will be interesting to see the feedback in 1.15 release candidate phase. So for all of you out there who are planning to test the release candidates, do let us know how you find this. We know from the community survey, as you'll see in the analysis blog post in a few days, most Foreman users have less than 10 people regularly logging into Foreman. So hopefully it's not too big an impact. Most people will just be using like the default roles that come with it because they've only got a few users. Or even if they've got custom roles, there won't be too many to modify. But for those of you who do have big installations or are doing self-service or something like that, then let us know how you find this change, because it'll be interesting to hear the feedback on it for sure. Hopefully it's an improvement and it stops things getting overwritten. But we'd love to know. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so thank you, Andhra, and I guess it's time to move on. So Marek, a bit more about things getting locked.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
We can, yes.
Cool. So before I actually jump to the templates, I'll also add to the roles one thing that I was working on recently. It was too small to actually create a slide for it, but one thing that you can notice is that the recommended workflow with the roles, if you need to modify it now, is cloning a role. And we added a little helper for those who will do the cloning. So if I clone this, let's say, manager role, which is locked, I give it some name like this, and submit that. And if I later visit this clone role, I should see a link basically to the origin, to the role that actually was used as the origin for this clone. So there's a little message in here and a link to the role which was cloned. It's not only for user. Hopefully, if later we will realize that it would be useful to actually extend the cloned roles. We'll have this link in database so we can address that. And also one more small thing in this form that was changed. We have this little information on top. It used to be some custom inline message in the form, so we moved it there, and also these little inline helps moved to the labels. It's not specific to roles form, it's now everywhere in a Foreman. So that's also one change that I worked on recently. Okay, but now let's talk about the provisioning templates. So very similar to what we have for roles, we also have for templates. Because templates are something that we ship with the Foreman. You find it there. And from time to time, we need to do some updates to these templates. And users tend to update or modify these templates. So after a while, we get to a problem where when we update the template, we will overwrite the custom changes. Actually, this already happened because of a bug. Whenever the seed is run, Foreman actually overrides the template with the version that we ship. And therefore, we decided to actually start with the same workflow as with the roles. So all templates that we ship are locked. It's very similar, but there are some differences. So one of the differences is that if the template is locked, you can still go into details in here. You see the form. The change is that there's a warning in here that the template is locked. And if you need or want to customize that, there's a link to clone it. So you can clone the template, and then you need to associate it with the operating system so it's used. But you can't change the content of the template. Also, you can't change the name, and you can't change the type, obviously. But because if we disable the editing completely, the ship template would be basically useless. So you can still change the default checkbox in here, which actually means whether the template should be associated with the new organization's locations if you use them. Also, obviously, you can still assign the available operating systems or the operating system where this template should be available. And you can assign locations and organizations to this template. Also, templates are not actually locked forever. Let's say you can still unlock them if you let's say are more advanced user and you understand the consequences. You can unlock the template. If you confirm a warning, the template is fully unlocked. You can go ahead and start editing the content in here, but make sure that you know that when you update the Foreman, the content from this template can be replaced by a newer version. So I would recommend locking or keep the templates locked. You can also use this workflow, by the way, if you have a set of users that you want to just use the template and maybe assign them to operating system, but other set of user or just administrators to actually editing the template. There is a specific permission for locking and unlocking the template, so you can easily create a role for users that should be allowed to unlock the templates. By the way, the same way applies to partition tables because they are basically the same kind of template, so they are also locked now by default. If you look at plugins, they don't log the template. Most of them, I would say, don't log the templates by default. Some of them do. So, for example, these templates are coming from Foreman Chef. They are locked by default. But I would recommend also all plugin users to consider this model where they ship their templates locked and leave users to do the cloning. One potential drawback of this workflow is that if you need to customize a snippet, then the snippet name will change. But if you use the snippet from some existing template, you reference it by the snippet name. So you also need to clone and modify the template that is actually using the snippet. And there's currently no better way, unfortunately. But hopefully this change is actually or will have positive feedback because now we won't overwrite custom changes. So I guess that's it, unless there are any questions regarding this.
Yeah. So obviously, we kind of had a partial version of this for a long time because the seeds would check for audit changes and not touch templates if audit changes were found. And now we're kind of inverting that and saying, well, actually, we're always going to overwrite now, but we're going to make sure that we're very upfront about that and that you can't really make changes in the first place. This is good. This is fine. But there's one area which I find interesting, and that's if you delete templates. So this was asked on IRC, and I was thinking it myself. Your screenshot right there shows a bunch of OSs I don't use. So if I delete, let's say, all of the SUSE AutoYAS templates, are they going to come back on the next upgrade?
Actually, we can try. I'll delete, let's say, I need to unlock this one and run a seed on the background. It should not appear because actually we check for audit. Audit says that the template was modified or something. Mm-hmm. And so let me just run, let me go to the Foreman. It will take a second. But I believe we'll skip that template after it was deleted.
So we still have the audit checks, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes, but previously I would say that it was misunderstood how we check the audit. We actually check it only for this reason. So if the template was deleted, we skip it, but we didn't check the modifications to the template.
Oh, really? I thought we did. Okay.
That was the bug I referred to. So actually,
right. Okay.
Learning that all the time. So I refer to page after the seed. I'm not sure. Well, sorry, I forgot the name. If that was altered to default finish or different one, but I suppose it was a different one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool. Okay. So at least in terms of testing and looking at RCs, the intention is if you delete templates, they shouldn't come back.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's good, and we can test that, and if it doesn't work, we know that it's fine to raise bugs about that. That's good. What about if you ever want them back? Let's suppose I start using SUSE and I want my AutoYAS templates back. Is there a way to recover them later, to undo that audit, essentially?
So that would be one way, but there is no UI for that. But the templates are actually shipped with the Foreman, and you can find them in a directory that you have to use unattended. The code is there, so it's just about the copying content of that file. So you can just recreate that basically from here. You just click create template and copy the file.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see whether that would then restore the capability for it to be upgraded. So let's suppose in 1.15 I delete a template, and in 1.15.3 I suddenly realize I need it back, so I recreate it, and then in 1.16 do I get the new version? That would be an interesting thing to check. But it's an edge case. I appreciate it's not super urgent, but it would be interesting to check it.
But I'm pretty sure that it would actually start updating the template because we are using a name to detect.
We're doing it by name based. Okay, cool. All right then, good. I don't think there's any other questions at the moment. It seems pretty similar. Same reasoning as the roles. It's a problem we've struggled with for a long time, right? Because it's not something you package exactly. It's content. It's a lot of it is very specific to users. But separating out what we ship with what people use locally, I think, is a very good, like, a big sort of separation between those two is probably a good thing. So that appears to be all the questions on that. So that brings us on to community survey time. So and we have plenty of time. So what I'll talk just a little bit about the survey first. So as I said in the last demo, 204 responses on the community survey. Absolutely amazing. Nearly triple what we had the year before. It's taken me quite some time to go through it. Not only was there triple the number of replies, but also the survey itself was much longer. So not only have more of you come out to answer it, you've also put in a lot more time into that, and that's fantastic. And thank you so much for doing that. But it has meant it's taken me quite a long time. I've written 800 lines of Markdown, which took me quite a while. And a lot of screenshots and a lot of rewriting things in tables and trying to do some basic sort of analysis on it. And there's more to do. There's more sort of cross-referencing to do and this kind of thing. Highlights, there aren't many. You can read the blog post in a couple of days, but basically it's about what you'd expect. People, where the questions are similar to last year, the stats are much the same in terms of, distribution of how long people have been using Foreman, or what version they're using, or how many people use it, or which OSs they use it on. This is all fairly consistent. Where we have new data, it gets interesting. So obviously we've got a lot more questions about the proxy this year, more questions about Catello and content management in general, slightly better questioning around things like compute resources and so on. So it's going to, hopefully it'll be an interesting read for you guys when it comes out. As I say, the draft is up, so you can actually go and read it now if you want. It's on GitHub, but it'll hit the blog soon. But what the very last page of the survey said that if you provide me with some form of contact email address, I will add you to a prize draw. And I didn't say what the prizes were because at the time I hadn't really decided. So let me talk a little bit about that. Basically, what I had in mind at the time, and what I hope still to do, is some form of small embedded device. In my head, I'm thinking something like a Raspberry Pi. Now, whether it will actually be a Raspberry Pi depends on a bit of testing to find out exactly how well Foreman would run in that. It was probably fine on a Raspberry Pi 3, to be honest. And we have the ARM builds, courtesy of community folk putting together some builders, and we have packages for that. So it seems to me quite straightforward to build an SD card image that's already got Foreman set up on it that will run on a Raspberry Pi, or maybe something like an Odroid, depending on exactly what we can get. As I say, Raspberry Pi seems likely because of general availability, and it runs a fairly recent kernel as well, which is always nice. So I'm planning to get 2 of these and get them set up and then ship them to whoever wins. And I'll make the SD card image available as well for anybody else who wants to do it on their own hardware. So this should be pretty cool as a little kind of... Now, obviously, it's not going to be very powerful. It's not going to run a lot of stuff. It's going to struggle to run much more than a few clients. But it's a way to set up a sandbox. It'll have working TFTP, DNS, DHCP. You can drop that on a network, maybe use it as an appliance to do some basic provisioning, get something else more powerful up and running, whatever. That's kind of my intention. Now, on top of that, I'm quite happy to ship out a few T-shirts as well. So what I'm thinking is two big winners for the devices, and 5 for a care package of a t-shirt and some stickers. This seems like a reasonable set of prizes, I think. So what we're going to use is I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to do it live right now, so you can't accuse me of cheating. So let me pull up my list. This here is a list of names. Hopefully you can all see this. This is taken from the email addresses. So in a lot of cases, it's just part of the email address. So like ITnet7, I've no idea who that is. That's just part of their email address so that I can see that it's a valid name, a unique identifier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use random.org, random number generator, and we are going to pick the names off this list. So it goes from, so column 1 is the header, so row 1. So it goes from row 2 down to row 102. So I have it already here, 2 and 102, and let's go. So here we go, drum roll. First winner, 64. I feel like I'm playing bingo here. Stefan Schulten is our first device winner. So well done to you. Thank you very much for filling in the survey. And another one, 48. That's Alex Molkanov. I apologize in advance if I get anybody's name wrong. I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time. And so well done to you guys. And then for the care packages, hopefully we won't get any duplicates. That would be embarrassing. Let's see. Hey, Roger. This is exciting. I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are enjoying this as well. 97. We got the Sharif Nagi. Let's see. We need 3 more. Number 8, Eric Lake. Did we just, oh, I thought we had a duplicate there for a minute. A lot of 60s in this random number generator. Joe, or Yo, I think. Thank you very much. 68, wasn't it? There we go. There we go. And one more. Number 7, Daniel Helgenberger, a person I have interviewed on our YouTube channel. But there's no favoritism here in either direction. So a winner is a winner. So there we go. Those are winners. I will be in contact with those people to discuss how to get stuff to them and so on and so forth. But in terms of what we're doing live on air, that's all we need to worry about. So that's, yeah, someone's trying to fill in the survey now. It's been closed for about a month, so forget it. Nice try. Right, I think that's all I needed to do with the survey. As I say, the actual results will be out in a couple of days for you to have a look at and to draw your own conclusions. And I do welcome any feedback, anything you spot in the data that looks interesting. Please do come and talk to me about it. It's a lot of data, and I have almost certainly missed some interesting conclusions. A big thank you again to everyone who filled in the survey this year. I hope we can do as well next year. The data is hugely valuable because we don't have any other way of knowing a lot of the things that you need to tell us. You know, there's no phone home data, there's no login requirement to download the software. We literally don't know how big our community is or where they are, or even basic things like that. So without this survey, we would know very little about what you guys want. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, enough gushing statements about community data. Let me give you some data back the other way. The usual metrics, nothing very interesting this month, I'm afraid. No real change in the package downloads, no real change in the plugin ordering, apart from Salt and remote execution, which are always like really close together. No change in the compute resources, they're in the same order. Redmine is slightly interesting, lots less opened bugs, lots more closed bugs, 27 closed features. I think this is a sign of coming up to a release candidate, right? Everyone's getting their features in. So this is fine. Slight increase in community support in bug reporting. Thank you, as always, for reporting bugs. It's very useful. People underestimate how valuable it is to simply open a bug report. They think contribution means code, and it doesn't. This is contribution, and it's very, very valuable. So thank you. Mailing list, the stats are exactly the same. In terms of unanswered threads, it's the same because we're still in the same month and it's done on a month, so we won't get new data until next month. Community support is very slightly up, so this is good. I don't have any GitHub data for you today because my GitHub scripts are hitting GitHub API limits at the moment for some reason. They weren't before. I don't know what's changed. But at the moment, it's making it very difficult to get accurate GitHub data, so I need to look into that. Largely, though, I would expect to see the same picture as Redmine because they're almost always the same. Right. Well, that is everything, I think. So thanks very much to all our presenters today. You know where to find us if you want to talk to us. You can speak to us on Freenode IRC or on the YouTube comments or on the mailing list or on Twitter. You know the deal. For today, though, thanks very much for watching and do take care.